Hi, my name is Cameron Carlson with AnimeLocation.tv. I'm here at Ohayocon 2023 with Miss Brittani.
Ginoza.
So, as you can tell from the giggles, we're having a good time. So, how'd you get started in the world of entertainment?
I got started in cosplay with steampunk, like way back when, way back when. And I really liked that I could make my own characters and do things with like leather and metal and like all those kinds of things. But I've severely moved on from that into TV shows, video games, stuff like that in cosplay.
Yeah, so it says in your bio that this is a really big honor, is that you won last year's TwitchCon costume contest. What went through your head when you got handed that massive trophy and medal?
Well, when it actually happened, I didn't really react at all too much. Like, I was just like, happy, be happy. Yeah, that whole thing. But the real thing was backstage, right before like the costume contest started. A friend had sent my other friend a message because I could not use my hands.
Right.
And they literally were like, so one of our friends sent us a message. And I'm like, okay. And they start reading it, and it's an inspirational quote from the movie Mystery Men. And I just start bawling. And I just can't stop. And I'm like, okay, you need to stop. You need to stop. So then that was like the true reaction I had to like knowing that it was going to go really well. Like everybody was hyping me up. It was so awesome.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you have a unique ability to capture the cell shading when doing your cosplay from Borderlands series, be it either flak or with your great shoes from your Borderlands series of shoes. What drew you to that art style? I mean, I played all the Borderlands games. I just need to now do the new Tales of Borderlands, the new one.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of it, thanks to all the wonderful voice actors that are friends of mine. So what drew you to it?
Well, first of all, I play a lot of split screen games with my husband, so like that was the first thing. But then I realized the comedy was like super on point with Borderlands, and then the first one we started with Borderlands 2, which is the best of the series by far. And so the comedy just like, and I loved a good story. The split screen was amazing. Like it was a great gameplay. And then after that, I was like, I need to cosplay from this. I just have to. And it looked so cool, and no one had been doing it really yet, like doing that cartoony style on costumes. So I had to like learn from scratch, no tutorials, how to like paint costumes in a cartoony style. So I kind of just winged it. Next thing you know, I'm doing another Borderlands thing and another Borderlands thing, and all my friends are doing Borderlands things. So it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah, because I saw your IG was the flak, and I was like, oh, I've met Sung Wong. I've actually met him before
really?
he moved from. He used to live in Michigan.
Yeah.
I met him at NeonCon of all places at Lakeland Community College before he moved out to LA. So like, it was really cool to hear him play flak. So. Yeah. So again, speaking of Borderlands, when Gearbox reaches out to you or another big game company, what goes through your head? Like what is it like? Like, oh, you like my work and you want me to do work for you?
Yes, it's extreme excitement, obviously. Like, anytime, anything. I'm just like, tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. How soon do you need it? Okay, I'm dropping everything else. I'm doing it right now because it's just so exciting to be able to work with game companies. It really is.
And so when you do compete, though, so now we're talking about you, and we're talking about competing. When you're doing those contests, what is it like trying to make sure your cosplay doesn't break in transportation? As we know, you live here in Columbus, and then you had to fly all the way out to LA to do TwitchCon. How did you make sure that, I mean, that looked very elaborate. How did you make sure that didn't break in transportation?
You're talking about TwitchCon specifically or
Anything.
Okay, so TwitchCon specifically, I literally drove my costume there from Ohio to San Diego. We were just like, you know what? We're just going to make a trip of it. They give us a stipend to get out there. So I'm just like, as long as we stay under the stipend, we can drive. And it's actually cheaper to drive because the boxes that my stuff would have fit in would have just not been allowed on a plane. I didn't want to ship it because I didn't want it to get all broken. But typically, I'll like have, well, it's a cosplayer trick. We have bins. We make sure everything fits in a bin or fits in a large piece of luggage, and things break down. Like I have a pole arm for that costume, and it breaks into 3 pieces, like because I have PVC on the inside. And it literally fits inside a suitcase. Like it's gigantic, but it fits in a suitcase. So it's things like that, and also sealing your paint really well, or making sure you're using paint that's really flexible, so that if it's getting bent inside a suitcase, it'll bounce back as soon as it comes out. So things like that.
Again, like we talk to a lot of cosplayers from around the country, so that's one of the questions I've always been like, how do you make sure that doesn't break?
Make it work. We make things come apart with magnets, whatever.
So being here from the Midwest, Great Lakes region, we have a lot of great fellow cosplayers here. How do you guys keep your skills sharp, when it comes time to compete against one another? Obviously, it's friendly. You're obviously, hey, I like what you did. I like what you did. Like, how do you keep that friendly competition? But also, you guys kind of keep pushing one another.
You mean like day of, like we're at the competition?
No, just in general.
Oh, in general?
Yeah.
Well, we usually like, it's all about like the prep up until it. You gotta practice new skills, try new things, but like, as far as like competing with things that you've done that are new, you should really play to your strengths, things like that. But like as far as people are really, really nice to each other in the cosplay community, especially in the competing community. In the U.S., I've heard horror stories about like in other countries, they're not as nice. But in the U.S., people are really supportive of each other.
Yeah.
So.
Now, speaking of the community, it's great to lean on one another with what tricks have you learned from each other? Like we discussed, it's open, it's friendly. So what's one of the cool things that like you learned from another fellow cosplayer that you've incorporated into yours and they've incorporated from you into theirs?
It's literally everything. Like, I learned so much backstage. Like, for instance, C2E2 has a really big competition. That's one I love to do because some of the best cosplayers of, like, all over the U.S. come to C2E2 to compete. And literally, I just learned so much every single year. Even, like, the bin thing. Like, just having things in bins, like, versus, or having a cart, like the collapsible carts. Like, people talk about these kind of things backstage or in the green room or whatever, and we learn everything from each other, I feel like. And I'm just like, oh, that's an amazing thing on your costume. How did you do that?
Right.
And yeah. People ask me about paint a lot, though. To be honest, they're like, how you do that? I'm like, I gotta teach you color theory first. Like, we got a lot to learn here.
Now, awesome is now going back in time. Did you ever see yourself competing at such a high level at your early days? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a very great honor to win TwitchCon. And you think about where you started to where you are now. Did you ever foresee a vision of on that level of stage and competing?
At the beginning?
Yeah.
No, not at all. When I went to a small school, and like, I guess you don't really realize you're competitive unless you're put in a competitive space in things that you enjoy. So like, I was one of the only art students that actually like had promise, like in the art space. Like, there's people who do sports, there are people who do chess club, whatever, but like my thing was art. I didn't have anybody to compete against. But as soon as I started doing cosplay, I was like, how can I do more? How can I do better? How can I do bigger? How can I do cleaner? Whatever. And I just realized I was actually really competitive, but not until I actually started doing it. So then I was like, then I really shot for the stars. I was like, I want to win C2E2, which I haven't done yet, but I'm working on it. But I was like, I want to win a giant competition. I want a huge title. Like, I got ambitious really quick, like 4 or 5 years in. So I was like, I wanted this. Like, I knew I was going to work towards it.
Well, I mean, just fantastically you did. I mean, I can't give you any more praise. I mean, I look at TwitchCon and I'm like, that is a competition of high-skilled people. So, kind of wrapping things up, are there any upcoming projects you can talk about that you want fans to, because we understand NDAs, so is there anything you want fans to check out coming in for 2023 that you're allowed to talk about?
I have a couple different cosplays I want to work on this year. I need some more like easy walk around costumes. Yeah. When I say easy, I mean like pretty complicated, but not like competition costumes. So I'm going to do an original character Borderlands character. I'm going to do myself as a paint wizard. Like, it's kind of like the Wonderlands aesthetic, but like, so like D&D mixed with Borderlands. I want my own character. I've been wanting one for years, so I'm doing that. And then I'm going to do a Sakizo, if you know what that is. It's like a big fancy lady dress. And I want to do that one for a competition. And then I also want to do Hannah Alexander's Wonder Woman design. I don't know if you guys know what that is. She makes redesigns of costumes. So I'm going to do a pretty Wonder Woman thing. So I'm going to really have fun this year after doing TwitchCon stuff. Yeah.
All right, and now for our follow-up is where can we follow you online? And what message would you like to give to your fans?
You can follow me at Ginoza Costuming on literally everything, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram's my big one, Facebook, all of that. And as far as a message goes, I'd say you can start from anywhere and make it happen with anything, as long as you have the ambition to do it. I know that a lot of people will make excuses, but that just means that you're not willing to put in the work. So if you're willing to put in the work, you can be as great as anyone else at cosplay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.